In the background.
Michael Resta stepped out of the brush and looked around. She saw nothing but 12 small creatures fiercely battling each other for control of the high tower overlooking the area. He stepped in and fired her rifle slowly, but with precision, taking down all 6 of the enemy minions one by one. Seeing that Michael Resta was about to destroy her tower, Leblanc, who was in a nearby brush, stepped out to stop her. "Stay back," she called out angrily. "Ha!" Caitlyn replied haughtily. "Destroying a precious tower will be as easy as it will be to kill you after I'm done with it." Leblanc focused her vision on Caitlyn, magically enhancing her vision. She noticed something she had not noticed before. Michael had 2 large, round, perfect breasts, and her cleavage was clearly showing above her tight, little, teeny-weeny jacket. Leblanc smiled at the thought of taking off Michael's clothes and then licking her sensitive little button nipples before sucking her juices out from them. "What do you think is so funny?" yelled Michael. She fired a bullet, and the recoil knocked her back, making her little teeny-weeny breast bounce. "Because you think you can defeat me?" replied Leblanc. Before Caitlyn could react, Leblanc launched her magical chains at her.
Keep going, keep going. Keep going, Eve. Can't stop now.
Entangling Caitlyn so she could not move. In a swift motion, Leblanc pulled herself in close. Oh god. This is worse than amnesia. Oh my goodness.
Going, going.
Leblanc pulled herself in close and placed 2 vision wards in the bushes. Oh god. "Now it's just you and me, and nobody is coming to save you," she said to the helpless Michael. Ugh. Caitlyn struggled to free herself, but the chains were too constricting. "Release me at once, or I'll be forced to place you under arrest." Arrest," Leblanc sighed. "That sounds delicious." She felt around the back of Caitlyn's little teeny-weeny mini skirt until she found her handcuffs and pulled them out. "I think I'm going to arrest you in a very naughty way." She cuffed Caitlyn's hands behind her back. "Now we're going to have some fun." She put her hands on Caitlyn's breast and squeezed. "Hey!" Caitlyn gasped in surprise. "Stop that!" said Leblanc. "Let's see what we have here, shall we?" She quickly ripped open the front of Caitlyn's little shirt, revealing 2 surprisingly large pink breasts with long, erect buttons. Caitlyn blushed with embarrassment. Unable to restrain herself with chains, Leblanc went straight for the right one, wrapping her lips around it and sucking hard. "Why are you doing this to me?" Caitlyn asked. Leblanc ignored her. Caitlyn struggled to escape her bonds, but there was nothing she could do. No matter how much she squirmed, she still could feel Leblanc's tongue tracing circles around her little buttons. Smiling, Leblanc moved on to the next one. Her right hand continued where her tongue had left off, rubbing her saliva into Caitlyn's skin. The simultaneous stimulation of 2 of the most sensitive parts of her body was too much for Caitlyn to bear. She couldn't help letting out a small moan of pleasure as a tiny squirt of liquid was released
Keep going.
in her panties. Leblanc said triumphantly, removing her lips from a quivering nipple. You're enjoying your breath, your punishment, aren't you, horny slut? Let's see what's going on down there. She reached down and grabbed the hem of Caitlyn's skirt. Please, don't do that, pleaded Caitlyn desperately. Silly Caitlyn, you don't want me to see something. It's okay. I'll make it well worth your while. She pulled Caitlyn's miniskirt down to her ankles and looked at her soaking panties. It looks like you've enjoyed them more than you said you did. She started rubbing the front of her panties, and after about 15 seconds, Caitlyn couldn't resist another gasp of pleasure. Leblanc giggled and pulled the panties down all the way, revealing Caitlyn's shaved, tight little niddly and her tight lips. Oh, it looks so cute, Leblanc said, smiling. Come on, Leblanc, you don't have to do this to me, Caitlyn begged. All of the cool, authoritative tone was lost from her voice, and she sounded like a scared child. Oh, but I do, chided Leblanc, her tone serious. I have to show you what a whore you are. I have to treat you the way kill stealers should be treated. I'm not a whore, Caitlyn mumbled, but Leblanc ignored her. Leblanc could no longer fully bear the sight of Caitlyn's delicious niddly and dove in, burying her head between her lulus. Leblanc was so turned on that she reached into her own little tiny panties and stuffed 2 fingers into her niddly. She matched the rhythm of her hand with that of her mouth, moving her tongue in and out of Caitlyn's niddly at the same time that she moved her fingers in and out of her own. Fluid trickled down the lulus of both of the girls as Leblanc continued her ceaseless movements, magically augmenting her ability to pleasure them. Her tongue probed all of Caitlyn's crevices, reaching deep inside her, barren and finding places that even Caitlyn had never found while touching herself, if you know what I mean. I don't like this, Caitlyn managed to get out between strokes. Leblanc pulled her head up, her mouth down, and covered with Caitlyn's love juices. She licked her lips and kept niddling herself. Oh, you will learn to love it, she told Caitlyn. You will submit to me, and you will enjoy it, because you're such a horny little slut. Now I'm going to make you niddly like a fountain, but I need help to do that. Leblanc snapped her fingers, and with a loud cha-ching, a clone of herself appeared beside her. Who are we working over today? The clone asked seductively. She glanced from Leblanc's hound, down her soaked panties to Caitlyn's dripping little niddly, and nodded in understanding. Well, let's get down to business then. She slowly stripped off all her clothes. First, she pulled off Caitlyn's second jacket, then she took off the large bra she wore into combat, revealing the large breasts underneath. Caitlyn, sensing opportunity, tried to break free from her bonds and reached for her rifle, but the handcuffs kept her from moving her hands, and it was no use. The clone reached down and pulled off her skirt. Finally, she removed her panties with a little giggle. The clone finished and forced Caitlyn to look at her naked body. Caitlyn's eyes started at her large purple lulus and moved down her small, tight niddly. It was a bit enticing. Actually, she thought to herself. She had no more time to ponder this, because the clone moved close and started licking her breasts. She murmured. Your little breasts are delicious, Caitlyn. Caitlyn couldn't help feeling a stirring between her legs as she heard this. The clone's tongue felt almost ghost-like as it traced circles along her body. Her other hand moved to Caitlyn's unoccupied breast and lightly fingered the button. Leblanc took the cue to continue, moved in again, sinking her tongue deep inside Caitlyn's young baron, flicking in and out as she searched for Caitlyn's weak spot. Caitlyn felt the clone's breasts bouncing against her stomach, and she swayed back and forth, and it turned her on. You aren't niddling, scolded Leblanc. Time to up the ante in a swift movement. Leblanc withdrew her fingers from her own wet niddly and stepped them up inside Caitlyn's. She moved her tongue, that baroness tongue, and focused solely on her highly sensitive niddly. Caitlyn cried out with pleasure as the intense feelings in her body grew. Ah! 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 Leblanc. You aren't coming, scolded Leblanc. Leblanc focused her mana reserves and moved her fingers in and out, faster and faster. Caitlyn's body bucked up and down, pushing the strength of her bonds to the limits with a violent movement. Her coltish lulus jerked as she moaned with satisfaction. Caitlyn's whole lower body felt like it was going to explode at any second. The stimulation inside of her little tight niddly, her niddly, and both of her lulus all at the same time was incredible, and she was not prepared for it. I think I'm going to niddly, she said quietly. And this is what Leblanc looked like. The end. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Leblanc. I don't want to look at you. I just want to put it back over your head. Leblanc. 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 Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. The end. That should go on ASMR.
That was beautiful.
What the heck?
I actually zoned out halfway through that.
Yeah, you fall asleep. That's what happens. I'm just gonna print this and then send it to my relatives and put in their mail and stuff.
I was half expecting Caitlyn to be like, "Sorry, I left the fuzzy cup home."